So let's start. Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud. Protect your customer and increase your income. I'm Sophia, Distribution Marketing Director at interworks, and I will be your host for this webinar. Today, we will analyze the reasons why you need to offer Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud to your customers. Also, we will discuss the lessons learned in the last couple of years and how to overcome the challenges you face in cyber protection and increase, of course, your income. And now, let's jump to the agenda. We will start with a short introduction about Acronis, and then we will continue with meaningful insights into the new generation of cyber threats and how to protect your business. After this part, we will enjoy a live demonstration of Acronis Cyber Protect in the Acronis platform, and we will culminate this webinar with a Q&A session. During the webinar, you will be muted, but please feel free to raise your questions in the question tab you can see on your screen. However, in the end, we will activate your microphone so that you can share your questions directly to the speakers. Also, keep in mind that the webinar is being recorded and you will receive the recording within 48 hours after its end. Now, let me introduce you our speakers. We are glad to have Slav Umlenov, Partner Account Manager at Acronis. Hello, Slav.
Hello. Hello to everyone.
Good evening. Topher Thibault, Senior Cybersecurity Researcher at Acronis US. Svetlin Yordanov, Senior Solution Engineer at Acronis. And Stavros Amniotis, Partner Account Manager at interworks.cloud. Cloud. Stavros will join the Q&A session, answering questions you may have as Acronis MSP or wannabe Acronis MSPs. So, Slav, I think that the floor is yours. Let me give you the control to share your screen.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the warm introduction, and hello to everyone. It's my pleasure to be part of this webinar with interworks.cloud. I know that we're doing this one on a regular basis, and for me again, it's going to be the pleasure to introduce who we are and what we are doing. I know that most of you already know about Acronis, and I do believe most of the details which we're going to discuss today with you, most probably they're familiar to you, but still we have some new interesting news which we're going to share with you. That's why let's rock and let's see what are the new things about us. First, about me, Slav Umlenov, as Sophia mentioned, I'm Partner Success Manager at Acronis. So I'm ready to help you with any kind of questions, with everything which is connected to Acronis and our solutions. So I'm at your disposal. But now, talking about Acronis, few important things and details about us is the first one is actually that we're a leader in the cyber protection segment. And we're on the market for more than 18 years. But in the past several years, I would say that we are exactly the leader in cyber protection. But this one happened thanks to a lot of AI-powered based cyber protection functionalities in our solutions, thanks to our cyber cloud and cyber platform. And actually, those are the main engines which are using in our functionalities to position Acronis not just as a data protection company, but your cyber protection provider. Talking about our company, we have two headquarters. One of them is in Switzerland, in Schaffhausen, not only famous with producing watches, but also with our headquarters. The another one is in Singapore, and not only those two headquarters are part of Acronis. We have more than 33 plus locations worldwide, and today actually I'm part of our office in Sofia. We're with a new office location here and with ours. So if you have any kind of traveling to Sofia, Bulgaria, you are more than welcome to meet each other face to face to discuss the business and to discuss how we can help you. Some other important details about our company is that we're still growing. Actually, this slide here all the time, it could be updated because first of all, the billings are growing, the cloud growth is growing, the businesses who are trusting Acronis, they're non-stop growing. But something important nowadays is that out of those 1,750 employees of Acronis, more than 1,000 are in the R&D. So Acronis is developing the engine. Acronis is actually integrating in our solutions everything self-developed. Rarely in, I would say, less than 5 to 10%, we're using some additional resources. We're implementing some additional functionalities thanks to the companies who are acquired by Acronis. A good example is Device Lock, part of Acronis, and thanks to Device Lock and our joint effort, now we have also DLP functionalities in our solutions. I know that DLP is quite often discussed nowadays, so this is something else which you can take as an advantage in our solutions. Other than this, we're doing business in more than 33 plus locations in 150 countries and in 33 plus languages. Thanks to interworks cloud, you can rely on your local distributor of Acronis supporting you with Greek language. Also, we have plans for the support in terms of customer support to you. And not only this, with interworks cloud, we have also Acronis data center based in Greece, in Thessaloniki. So if you prefer to keep the data locally, you can take the advantage of that one. And again, to be 100% compliant, it could be, of course, in any other data center of Acronis. So far, we have listed 39 data centers of Acronis. Well, the main topic for today and in the second part of our webinar is going to be Cyber Protect. Cyber Protect is our unique solution. You shouldn't remember many different names. You should remember just this one, Acronis Cyber Protect, for full security, backup, data protection, and management for any type of workload, for any type of device in any environment. So far, we are proud to announce that 2 million plus workloads are already protected with Acronis Cyber Protect, and we successfully prevented more than 1 million attacks worldwide, globally. So this is something really important to understand, that we have the expertise, we have the knowledge and the functionalities which can protect your device and your customers. This one is happening, of course, through partners. Acronis is relying on partners. Partner success means Acronis success. That's why you can rely on our assistance, or you can rely on interworks cloud assistance for any type of support. Could be sales support, technical support, and all those. That's why just pick up the phone, send us an email, and we're ready to help. So talking about something really important nowadays, what are the challenges and why Acronis is doing that? The first of all is, of course, that digital world workloads are mission critical and they need to be protected. Of course, with the pandemic, we have a lot of new different locations. We're using our mobile phone, we're using our tablets, our laptops, different cloud services, which actually means that the whole world is becoming a bit more complex. So with this rapid growth of the workloads, basically one MSP IT provider has to protect more than 400 workloads, which is a huge weight on the IT providers, and this one is really hard to be managed. Of course, with this complexity, with this a lot of devices which are upcoming, the cost is also growing. So nowadays, this infrastructure, which is in a different place with all those devices who are generating data, even one mobile device is generating between 50 to 100 gigabytes on an annual base. That's why the cost is upcoming as well and growing. With all this complexity and costs across the world and across our real lives, not digital lives, the security is coming quite common topic. Ransomwares everywhere, every second, non-stop happening. Even a few hours ago, we discussed internally that there is another huge attack from Hive ransomware against a big company. There is exploits and automation, zero-day attacks, exploits which are non-stop happening to different kind of customers. And with all those complexity, cost, security, we need to be private. We would like our information to be private. This growing risk of liability for the partners, all those compliances, GDPR compliances and penalties, we need to be sure that our data is protected on 100%. That's why from Acronis, we believe that this is the fifth basic need, that we need to protect the data has to be stored, it has to be given to a reliable provider, and everything should be managed from a single pane of glass. But something really important nowadays is exactly the security. We have a lot of devices, but not all of them are secured. And that's why the ransomware attacks are increasing. And we can see that there is a global phenomenon for all sectors. So it doesn't matter if you are in the business of oil, if you're in the business of education, healthcare services, or financial services. The common thing between all those companies here is that they're using IT environment. They're using something digital. They're using workloads, servers, virtual machines, Microsoft 365, all those services which every single day we can see in our company. That's why it doesn't matter for the cyber criminals exactly on what type of sector you are, you can be targeted. And with this one, of course, with Acronis, we do believe that the solution has to be fully integrated and autonomous. This is what Acronis Cyber Protect is. Acronis can protect all the data, applications, and systems from a single pane of glass, as I mentioned. Something similar like this aircraft, fully autonomous. It can be in the sea and ocean without even going to the sea to the border, even for weeks. And this is what is our vision. Our vision is exactly about SAPAS. Those are 5 vectors mixing between safety, accessibility, privacy, authenticity, and security. The first power is about the data. Yes, you need to have a copy. From this copy, you should be able to recover. On the other hand, you need to have an access from this copy from anywhere, from any point. But this is all about data protection. So if you have a copy, if you have an access to this copy from any place, you should ask yourself, is that information private? So you would like to have also privacy, who is controlling this data and who has an access to this data. Of course, you have another power which is really important here. You need to be 100% sure that this information is authentic. And in Acronis, we do believe that with all additional features which we have, you can guarantee, of course, the authentic level of the information. Not less important, the security, this is the fifth power, has to be here. In the end, our solutions, they have perfect balance, perfect mix and match between all those 5 vectors in all our features and in a single solution. This solution is Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud. So with those commercial slides about our company, I would like to stop for a second and give the word to Topher Thibault, who is part of our CPOC centers and who is going to show you actually the new generation of cyber threats and how you can protect your business, because this is a really, really important topic here. With this one, Thanks from my side. I'm stopping the screen sharing.
Thank you, Slav.
You're welcome.
Topher, the floor is yours. Now let's take that you share your screen.
Sure. All right. Thank you. Thank you both, actually. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and excited to share a little bit about some of the cyber threats that we're seeing right now. And I'm just trying to pull up the screen sharing. 1 second. I believe, yeah.
Yeah, we can see your screen in presenting mode.
Perfect.
So we're all ears.
Awesome. Thank you. So basically, as a senior cybersecurity researcher, obviously I deal a lot with data, just looking through the trends and threats that we see just out in the world every day. So I'm going to go through a few of these. It's going to be fairly quick. I have a lot to go through in a short time to do it, so I'm going to try and get through these quickly. So what did we learn from 2020 and 2021? Obviously, the world changed drastically in 2020. And it wasn't just simply, some virus spreading across the world. We see a lot of changes as a result of that. We've got different types of attacks, different lures being used by attackers. So let's go ahead and take a look through and see how we've got some things that are the same but maybe a little different, and other things that have changed pretty drastically. So one of the things that stayed the same is phishing in emails. Obviously, this has been a topic for years. We've seen it, for a long time. We're going to see it for a long time to come. The differences that we're seeing, and this is starting to happen pre-COVID, but it's really accelerated since COVID, is just a lot of these phishing pages and emails have really started to look a lot more legitimate, a lot more like the pages that they're actually trying to mimic, and not, some version that's, 3 or 4 years old anymore, or, missing elements, or, obviously incorrect links. The attackers are getting really good at copying the pages and the emails. The other thing that happens a lot with phishing and with emails is the lures follow the current day trends. So as soon as COVID hit, it was, within a couple of weeks, we started seeing, phishing lures that were things like, hey, click this link to find out information on, what's happening with COVID in your area. And then, you'd have to sign into a cloud service like Google Drive, or, Office version. The name is escaping me at the moment. I apologize. So it would think, it would make you think that you're signing into a service just to, that you had to use your credentials to be able to pull down the document. And then, really what you're doing is you're giving them your credentials, or they're giving you potentially a malicious document. I mean, there's a number of things that can happen to get, to get the malicious payload onto your system, or to steal your data. Malicious emails are the #1 attack vector that we see. This is, really where most of your attacks start. Your ransomware, just, keyloggers, anything that's, trying to get into your system, and whether it's going to get in, get what it needs, and get out, or if it's going to try and stay there, and, keep collecting data, or, re-ransom your computer every 90 days, if it can attain persistence on the system. So, they're using this to get malware through either a direct file download, an attachment on the email, a URL, a link to, again, get you to put in your credentials so that they can steal that, or to get you to download something malicious. And we're seeing, even, we're seeing a lot of zip files to, install something, or, just, hey, this is a big PDF, so we zipped it, and you unzip it, and it installs malware too. Even there's been instances of CAPTCHAs being used maliciously, and lots and lots of password phishing. I mean, this, again, they're getting really good at making it look legit. I mean, this little screenshot we have here of the Office 365 login box. I mean, obviously there's not a whole lot to it, but they nailed that one. They got it exactly looking just like what you would see on an Office 365 login page. And then we're seeing an increase in CEO fraud and business email compromise. Things like your CEO reaching out to you to request, hey, I need, 100 Starbucks gift cards, sent to, this email address, digital gift cards, or Amazon, whatever the case may be. They're using SMS, so text messages, phone calls even, and AI deepfake. This is something that I've been really fascinated by lately. The combination of AI and both voice and visual, so either video or image deepfakes, it's an interesting combination, and it's kind of scary to think how it can be used. We're not seeing it a lot yet, but there are some proofs of concept out there to where this is something that we need to keep an eye out in the future. Now, obviously, this isn't something that it's all doom and gloom with all of this, with the phishing and the attackers getting a little bit more organized and legit looking. really, this is where we can start putting things like URL filtering in place to make sure that you're not even able to get to malicious websites. We've got email security features that can be used to scan every incoming email and make sure there's no malicious attachments, no malicious links in the email, and prevent those things from getting to your user's inbox. One of the other big things, this is probably the biggest thing that we saw change, was the move to remote work. And now, yes, people are going back into the office, but a lot of companies that are going to the office, it's either just part of their workforce while a good chunk of the workers are still staying home, or even if the entire workforce is going into the office, a lot of times it's not the entire work week that they're there. It's 1 or 2 days out of the week they're in the office, and the rest of the time they're working remotely, which of course, remotely doesn't even just mean from home. It means the coffee shop down the street, the public library, wherever they can get a Wi-Fi signal to connect. So obviously with this, we've got more exposed devices, we've got, unknown systems on networks, because usually your average home user, they're not segmenting their networks, they're not, separating their home devices from their IoT devices from, their work laptops. And then with that too, you've got remote access tools being used regularly. So remote desktop protocol, virtual network connections. So your perimeter is expanding with this remote work. So with this, that gives attackers kind of a bigger attack surface to try and get into your work network if we're not protecting these things. And this even includes things like Zoom and Microsoft Teams. We early on in the pandemic did see some attacks on these systems. So that's where having something that specifically looks for the types of attacks that could come through a lot of these remote working applications and specifically protects against those can really help go a long way into securing your systems and your data. Rush cloud adoption. Again, with the move to remote work, a lot of companies, they were looking at, okay, we've got to get stuff out of our, out of our four walls. We need this out where it's more accessible, maybe even accessible a little bit more quickly across the internet than, obviously if you're just trying to access a server within the same building or, within the company's network, that's potentially going to be faster than, if your workers are moving and expanding outward from the office and, suddenly they're having to go across the country or, even a couple cities over or, halfway across the world because, maybe your company decided that was fine to have workers work from anywhere. That's where cloud services are nice because they're accessible, they're usually faster to access. But with that, we need to still make sure that we are securing our cloud devices, that everything's configured correctly, APIs and access tokens are secured, they're not easily readable, and that none of your data is in an unprotected location. Obviously, we see leaky S3 buckets all the time. There's been all sorts of things in the news where there's just a breach because something just wasn't configured, wasn't protected. I kind of touched on this a little bit, trusted tools, we think of things like Zoom and Microsoft Teams as being trusted, but even with that, there's things that are just a part of your operating system. Microsoft PowerShell, we've got, I've seen a number of attacks recently where basically libraries within, common programming languages like Python, which is, Python is installed on a lot of systems, so there's libraries that have been infected, and in fact, just within the last week, we saw another one where NPM package was infected with malware, and it had I think it was something like 22 million downloads a week. So this wasn't exactly a small deal. This is something that was definitely making its way out there. So attackers are starting to use these trust relationships to basically get into your systems and use things like PowerShell and some of your command line tools in the system, just run things in memory, and basically living off the land text where they're not necessarily installing malware on your system, they're just running malicious commands, stealing your data, sending it outside of your network. And that's where it's so important to be able to see into your network where your data is going, and not just simply assume things like oh, any transfer of data that comes from inside the network is good. That's obviously one of our employees. If all of a sudden you've got a lot of data flowing from your servers to somewhere outside of the network, you need to know that that's there, so that you can put a stop to it. Because when you look at Twitch, the streaming service, they're pretty much their entire code base and a lot of their data was stolen. How do you not see that happening? And that's exactly how, is they likely didn't have the visibility that they needed. And then, of course, misuse of MSPs, service providers, and we're seeing a lot more in supply chain attacks too, where they're getting the code. And essentially, this is where that NPM package I was just talking about is essentially a supply chain attack, sort of. But it's basically, they're getting the code into an update, and then, anytime someone downloads that update, all of a sudden you've got malware on your system, and it looks like it's just part of a legitimate, trusted resource. So definitely, this is where there needs to be conversations with any providers on the security that they're using and how they can, make sure that they are protecting their stuff so that your stuff is also protected. Ransomware, obviously a huge topic. It's one of my favorite things to look into. It's a lot of fun to play with. I do a lot with this, and I'm constantly intentionally detonating ransomware just to see what it does. But the thing is with ransomware attacks is, yes, we'll see where you've got these spikes that happen. Sometimes there's the big spikes, where there's just massive attacks. But ransomware, it's not going anywhere. There's been a little bit of a decline in the second half of this year, just as certain ransomware gangs are being taken down. But I mean, you can kind of see right at the end here, around October, it's starting to ramp up just ever so slightly. But it's as some of these gangs that are being taken down disappear, there's others waiting in the wings to come take over. And then so we're seeing with ransomware extortion, it really is becoming more extortion, not just ransomware. We're starting to see semi-manual attacks where the attacker gets in, they start poking around, they see, oh, well, this is the kind of data they have. Let's, do a quick search in the network and see, how much of this we can find, or, what's the most useful stuff. So, it may not be fully automated anymore. Sometimes they're actually doing some digging. They're, stealing data, deleting backups, uninstalling your antivirus tools, which, that's why for us, we actually have, some self-protection measures in there so that the backups and our product, we've protected them against tampering. And then ransomware as a service is getting huge. There's not necessarily a whole lot of different forms of ransomware being used right now, but the attackers are just widely varied, and more ransomware that we're seeing out there is essentially it's a franchise deal. It's hey, use our ransomware, you get to keep most of it, and we'll take 10% or 30% or whatever from what you make off of ransoming this company. And so also looking at some of these numbers, ransomware, even though we saw a little bit of a dip in the second half of this year, overall this year, which isn't even over yet, we're up 17% in ransomware over 2020 and 3% across Europe. Now, granted, there's still almost 2 months left, so that number is just going to keep rising at this point. And again, that's where it's so important to have that ransomware protection and have something where it doesn't just simply stop the ransomware, but can actually, in an automated way, restore any encrypted files, stops the attack as early on in the attack chain as possible. If you can prevent the download of the ransomware payload in the first place, obviously, that's what you want to do, but you can't always count on that initial thing, especially if there's a new form, new techniques being used. Sometimes you actually have to go in and look at the behaviors of the ransomware, and as soon as it starts encrypting, say, oh, that's not good, we're seeing these files changed, let's change them back and stop the processes, quarantine that file that started running this. So as far as predictions going forward, what we're saying is, more known attacks. So essentially, with a lot of the automation, AI, machine learning, attacks can happen faster, and not necessarily, or not just within an individual attack. It's not that they're necessarily getting in and getting through your systems faster, and that can happen. And especially with automation, they know what they're looking for and can search things a little bit easier. But as attacks get more targeted, the automation also helps them to attack more companies faster, or more organizations. More attacks on the cloud. Again, cloud is huge. It was getting huge before COVID and then blew up during COVID. And so, the attacks on the cloud are just going to keep expanding because it's a great source of data. And sometimes, depending on how things are, if they can find their way to break out of your little cloud container, they may be able to get into other organizations too. Now, granted, that's not necessarily something that's easy to do, but the possibility's there, and if the possibility's there, then attackers are going to try it. Exposed services, again, with remote work and remotely accessed services, more and more things are exposed to the internet, and if they're not properly secured, then that's another way that attackers can get in. Business process attacks. Basically, this is where data is going to be the key, and they're really going to start looking at the data and processes and see how they can basically use your stuff against you. Ransomware data theft. We're seeing already over the last year and a half, 2 years, more and more that ransomware attacks just include data theft. It's just becoming the reality of that industry. And then they sell it off. They do whatever they can to extort money out of you based on the data that you have. And then supply chain. We're going to see more and more of that because, again, if they can get into the supply chain, it's a lot easier for them to get into multiple organizations rather than just a single organization. Knowledge of the target's weaknesses. They are doing research. They are, they're going on LinkedIn and saying, hey, what technical skills are you requiring in your job listings? What programming languages does your company use? Okay, well, you're using Python, so I know some vulnerabilities in there, so I'm going to be able to use those to get into your network. They're actually actively researching in a number of attacks, and some of this can be automated. If they know, hey, we've got this malware that does this thing, we're going to search for companies in an automated way that use that thing. And then IoT attacks. IoT for a long time was just, it was the novelty. It was the, devices at home, smart TVs, but it's getting to the point where even in the office, I mean, it's getting to the point where it's hard to not have an internet-connected coffee machine, or there's so many different things. And then, of course, with 5G coming out, there's new technology. Anytime there's new technology, there's unknown vulnerabilities. So it's one of those things where it's going to take a while before we figure it all out and essentially get to where things are fully secured with this new technology. A lot of the data that I'm talking about can actually be found in our Acronis Cyber Threats report, the one for the first half of 2021, and I forgot to update this slide. That should say 2021 at the top. But if you use the QR code there, you can pull it down there, or we also have it attached in the handout section in the webinar. So whichever way to download it works best for you, feel free. There's a lot of great data in there. Give you just a second to scan that if you want to, and then
on top of that, Topher, our attendees can download the white paper we have available on handouts section. It's a white paper around the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud Cyber Threats Report for the middle year 2021.
Yes. Yeah, so definitely, take a look at that. This is the kind of stuff that I love reading all the time. But yeah, so, of course, with this, so what can we do to, build a ransomware defense strategy? Obviously, this is something where it has to be a multi-layered approach. So that we've got 12 steps here, and I think my time's getting a little tight, so I'm going to run through these quickly. But again, like I touched on, deploy anti-malware. That's something that you have to have anymore. You're going to be attacked at some point. The question is, do you have those defenses in place? And if you can stop the malware payload from actually running on your system, great. You're safe, but it's still not a set it and forget it. You still need to make sure that things are being updated. Manage your passwords. Use multi-factor authentication. Use a zero trust approach. Be vigilant about this. Like, don't allow weak passwords. Require the use of password managers. Whatever you can do to keep passwords as secure as possible, it needs to be done. Minimize the exposure of the services. Like we're saying, as things are, becoming more global, things are getting more exposed. So do what you can to minimize that, lock things down, make sure that things can only be accessed, again, with multi-factor authentication or, from certain IPs. If you, have your employees signing into a VPN, then lock down your servers to where they can only be accessed from the office IP through that VPN, or from, physically within the office. Segment your internal networks. If access isn't needed by everyone, then everyone shouldn't have access, is essentially where that starts. Keep things separate. Don't let your financial servers talk to your servers where your HR information is stored. Most of the time there's not going to be a need to have these different systems communicating with each other. But yeah, obviously there will be times where it's necessary and you set that up, but again, make sure it's protected. Implement automated programmatic vulnerability scanning and patch management. So basically, you don't want to just assume like, oh, I have auto updates on Windows, so I'll be good. First of all, your systems are going to have more than just Microsoft Windows on them, so you need to make sure that everything is patched as quickly as possible, and the best way to do that is by automating the process. If the patch comes out, it gets updated, and obviously, there's potentially some issues with compatibility with updates sometimes, so you can, potentially even automate it to where, the patch comes out, and this test environment gets updated automatically. And then as soon as it's determined, again, potentially through an automated process that, hey, nothing's broken, then it can get pushed out to, your production environment. Use tools that increase your visibility of your IT services and data flows. This is especially important in the cloud. People don't think about it with the cloud, but we think about watching our data flows within our internal networks. The cloud is now part of your internal network. Like I said, that perimeter, it's expanding. Don't forget about that. Build a security awareness training program. People are the weakest link. They always will be. Computers are not anywhere near as fallible as the human element. So make sure that your people are constantly being reminded of security practices, security measures, how to stay safe, how to identify those phishing emails or things that just seem suspicious, or hey, I wouldn't normally get this request from my CEO. That would normally go through someone else. Why am I getting it? You know, people need to be constantly trained and reminded, because it's easy to get complacent too. And, you know, yeah, that security training we had 2 years ago, it was great and everything's still relevant, but you need to keep updating that training and sending out reminder emails, and just have a whole program in place to where, you know, your employees have those reminders and the new information, and are just, you know, getting what they need to have the constant reminder of how to be secure. Email security, URL filtering, I discussed those a little bit earlier. They need to be in place because, again, the attackers are getting very clever, and just, you know, simply training your employees isn't necessarily enough. You know, they may actually be expecting things, you know, around tax time. They receive, you know, an email about taxes. It may not be one that they requested, but it might make sense to them. And so they think, oh yeah, let me open this and you know, download this, you know, invoice or whatever it may be. Like, oh, I forgot about that. Or, you know, we see things all the time where people fall for these things because it's close enough to something that would be expected. Have an incident response plan. This should be a living document. It should include, you know, who's responsible for communicating things, who's responsible for doing different aspects of the incident response. So have that in place. Have a, you know, again, a robust data protection regimen. Test your backups. Don't just simply have backups. You know, follow the 3-2-1 rule. You know, three different backups on 2 different, what is it? 3 backups, 2 different media, and 1 of them offsite. At least 1 offsite. And test those. A backup isn't a backup if you can't restore from it. And consider implementing a disaster recovery plan. You know, this is separate from your incident response plan. You know, disasters happen. You might lose all of your data. How are you going to get it back? You know, an earthquake could happen, and you know, your building could tumble and you lose lots of stuff. What are you doing to get your data back once you're back up and running, or once, you know, operations have transferred to another office location? And take advantage of security frameworks like NIST, or, you know, there's a number of frameworks out there. Pick a framework, go with it. I mean, you can do a little bit of research to find the one that works best for you. But again, a lot of these also work hand in hand. So if you find one's just not quite right, you can usually transition over to another one relatively easily from there. Just 3 more quick slides I'm going to go through here. So Acronis Cyber Protect, you know, again, this is our approach. You know, protect each silo, you know, that you have, because things get siloed. But with Cyber Protect, you get the next generation cybersecurity, plus the reliable backup and recovery solution, and enterprise protection management. So, you know, with this, it's an all-in-one, which again helps to reduce costs from, you know, the time that it takes to implement this solution, and integrate multiple solutions, you know, because it's already integrated for you. So, you know, our key features, you know, identify what's going on in your network, protect against threats, you know, detect both, you know, existing and new threats, respond, you know, again, you know, automate the updates and the recovery from backups, that sort of thing, and, you know, of course, recover. Obviously, you know, if you lose data, you need to be able to recover it. So having, you know, proper, you know, file level and system level backups is, you know, one of the keys to proper cyber protection. And then, so yeah, the all-in-one cyber protection and management solution for small business and enterprise edge workloads. Basically, it's just everything all working together. You know, we try to make it as simple to use as possible. Again, the integration is already there to, you know, make things easy on you. So with that, you know, just some quick, you know, going over some of our client examples. Obviously, in the region, we've got a number of different organizations. You we've worked with. There's some big names on here. Some I'm sure some of these mean more to you than in that region than me, so I won't call any specific ones out because while I do recognize some of these obviously because they're global brands, we've got a lot of partners in the area. We've worked with the Liverpool Football Club. We've got a great coordination with a lot of sports teams. And then Williams Racing, is another one that we've worked with and protected, 1,200 email boxes and SharePoint sites. We work hard with them to make sure that their, Microsoft 365 is safe and secure. And with that, I will hand this back over to Sophia.
Okay, great, Topher. Special thanks once again for being here with us, and of course, full of beans, and to be honest, so early in the morning since you're located in the US. So let's continue with you, Svetlin, and let Topher to grab some coffee, a cup of coffee.
Okay, so please allow me to share my screen.
Sure, here you are. Let me give you the control.
Do you see it now?
Yes, great. Super.
Okay. So this is how the Cyber Protect management console looks like. All the things which you need to do the protection, identification of cyber threats, recovery, everything under one single console, one single agent, and one single protection plan. As mentioned many times, this is allowing you to do backups, to protect against malware, to do URL filtering, vulnerability assessment, patch management, and more than that, it is working as a fully automated and integrated solution. The first thing that we're gonna touch are the platforms which we support. We support a broad number of platforms ranging from workstations, Windows and Mac, servers, Windows and Linux, mobile devices, iOS and Android, different virtualization hosts protected in two different ways: agentless, without an agent on every virtual machine, just with virtual appliance on the virtual host, for VMware, SSI, virtual over Hyper-V, overt, on red scale and scale computing, and all of them protected in agent-based manner with an agent on every virtual machine. Protecting with so-called application-aware backup, certain applications like Microsoft SQL Server and many others, and of course our cloud-to-cloud backups for Microsoft 365, Google Workspace. There is certain automation here which allows you to do discovery, auto-discovery, installation, registration of agents in a fully automated way. And once we install the agents, then we have to create our protection plan to protect the workloads. In the protection plan, we have all the functionalities that you can switch on or off depending what you need to achieve. First, regarding the backup, we can backup entire machine or distant volumes, files and folders. Here, the applications are being backed up at file level. And in addition, we have, for those applications, we have so-called application-aware backup. In addition to the normal backups, we have continuous data protection, which is working on file level. And once there is a change in the files of those applications, then automatically there is a backup. Everything, all the communication, all the backups are fully encrypted, but if the customer wants to add another layer of encryption, this is possible to be done here. Just put the password and choose the encryption algorithm and everything is done. Regarding the security, one very interesting option is to have so-called collecting forensic data, collecting forensic information, where we collect the entire disk space, even on an allocated space, raw memory dump, snapshot of running process. Everything is being collected together with a bucket, and then when you recover from, if there is a disaster, you can recover from the backup and then use this forensic information for forensic investigations. Topher mentioned about disaster recovery. With Cyber Protect Cloud, it is very easy. Once you apply the plan, then we automatically spin up recovery server. We build up the VPN gateway in our end, and then it is easy to create your recovery and primary servers. I'll come back to that topic and to the topic of Microsoft 365 protection in a minute. Now I'm going to continue with the protection plan. Antivirus and anti-malware solution. It is full-blown, full-featured antivirus and anti-malware solution. There is a machine learning technologies and artificial intelligence-based technology staying behind this. Why it is important to have automation? In order to achieve three simple parameters. These are the 100% catch rate. The second thing is 0% false positives and catching zero-day threats in real time. I have one example here how it works. Actually, this is how we use machine learning technology to build our machine learning model. In our case, it is decision tree, and this decision tree is used to have very quick inferences whether data are being encrypted in a malicious way. Once we detect this, then we stop the process and revert back clean content from the service cache. We have one example for this wasted local ransomware, which is being blocked at 3 different levels with our traditional anti-malware engine first, then with artificial intelligence-based static heuristics analyzer, and with our behavioral protection. All those technologies work together in order to have defense in depth, to have layered defense, and to achieve those 3 simple parameters. All those technologies that are mentioned here on the slide, you can set it up here in the console. Regarding, for example, exploit prevention, one of the cool functionalities is that it protects in real-time Zoom, Teams, WebEx applications for collaboration, which are being used widely nowadays. With this code injection, session hijacking protection, and as I said, it is full-featured, full-blown antivirus and anti-malware protection. On top of that, we have URL filtering, which is working on the endpoints, but it is centrally managed from here. With Windows native anti-malware solutions, we can manage them centrally from here. Windows Defender Antivirus and Microsoft Security Essentials, which is useful for customers who do not have their own Microsoft Active Directory. Vulnerability assessment and patch management could be set up in a fully automated way to be done, and matching different conditions, when to be done, how to be done, when to start. As Topher mentioned, it has to be fully automated. First, doing the vulnerability assessment, and then doing patch management. And more than that, it's quite granular. You can choose exact workload, exact applications, what kind of category of patches to go, what kind of severity of patches, what kind of approval status to have in order to have either automated process or to do it in a managed way. This is very cool functionality to run backups before installing software updates. It is run automatically, and if there is a blue screen of that or anything wrong with the patch, with the new state, then you can quickly roll back. Data protection map is quite a cool functionality, giving you a heat map view whether those files, whether the files with those extensions are being protected. And in addition, we have our DLP device control. You can control in a very granular way the different device types. If you say everything is denied, then you can establish your whitelists for device types and for exactly certain devices. And you have all the things easy accessible to be managed from our dashboards and console. Here you have patches, vulnerabilities. After you do the vulnerability scanning and all the vulnerabilities are being discovered and available patches are being listed here. We maintain full software inventory, full software and hardware inventory, and there are many widgets which you can customize here in the dashboard to have full visibility and control over the over your environment. I'm going to stop here. There are three minutes left, and if there are any questions, then we can discuss them.
Thank you, Svetlin. Actually, I'm gonna activate the audience microphone. So anyone who wants to share any question, just click on the hand icon. Now your microphones are activated. But I already have some questions for you guys. So let's jump to the first one. Which is the AV ransomware engine created from a special vendor or specific vendor, let's say, or Acronis developed its own system? Who is the one who grabbed this one?
I think the most relevant would be Topher because he's working actually with those engines.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, I mean, it is something that we actually do develop internally, and yeah, my team actually does a lot of work on building it out and making sure that we are up to date with any new ransomware and other malware based on behaviors, as well as our internal AI team, and we've got a number of different aspects of this that are very much developed internally.
Super. Sure. So let's continue with another one. Has the antivirus or anti-malware solution been tested by an independent vendor?
So I think I can take this one too. Yeah,
Go for it.
we actually we have regular third-party testing. We've got VB100 and some of the other industry standard anti-malware testing organizations that regularly test our product, and even down to certain aspects of it, just to make sure that things working alone work well as the whole thing working all together.
Great. Thank you, Topher. Another one, which is about what about the Oracle support? So who will take this one?
Maybe I should take this one. I showed in the devices that we are supporting Oracle VM with an agent on the virtual machines, and also regarding supporting the backup of Oracle databases. In fact, we have a possibility to do certain integration with the Oracle Airman and with our pre and post commands and pre and post data capture commands. In fact, we are capable to backup in a consistent way Oracle database and any other database.
Super. Stavros, do you have any comments to add?
No, Svetlin fully covered that. I believe that the main question was about the Oracle databases, which is a lot of partners of ours that have installation like that. And now with the advanced pack in the cloud, we can cover Oracle and SAP. Just to mention that if you've got any SAP installations, SAP HANA, it's fully supported by Acronis.
Good to know, of course. So I'm gonna continue with the next one. Who is the major competitor in the cybersecurity or
I'm gonna
protect?
pick up this one because
Mhm.
this is quite often question which I'm receiving on a daily basis from either partners, either end customers. They're saying, okay, I have already let's say backup vendor, I have already security vendor, but in terms of competition, we don't have really a competitor in terms of this full cyber protection stack, because the full cyber protection stack combines backup, security, and management. Three different layers from a single management, from a single agent. And that's why I would say that we don't have really a competitor. Yes, only for a backup, there is a competition. Only for security, yes, there are a lot of anti-malware solutions out there and security solutions. But in terms of full cyber protection, I would say that for real, we don't have any competitor there.
Okay. Yes, that's very good for any Acronis MSP, and it's a great advantage for them to share with their customers, and know that this is a holistic solution
Είμαι σε
covering so many.
webinar της Acronis.
Stavros, you need to mute yourself. So next one is there a retail price for Cyber Protect Cloud products?
I'm going to take this one as well.
Mhm.
Talking about our solutions, we have two models of selling Acronis. The main idea for today it was actually the positioning of Acronis Cyber Protect, which is available in those two models as a classic business license with MSRP, manufacturing suggested retail price. Yes, the prices they are suggested, so you have this MSRP price. You can request such kind of quotation from interworks.cloud. They're doing classic distribution as well of Acronis. But in terms of cloud distribution, we have the MSP model from where you can provide self-serve or managed services. And especially when you're providing managed services, there is no fixed retail pricing. It's up to you because you're the MSP. You decide how much costs your hour work, daily work, and all those. So that's why with the classic licenses, yes, we have retail prices. We can share this one with you. Actually, Interworks can share this one with you. For the MSRP, for the MSP model, there is no fixed retail prices. It's all up to you. I think that's the clarification here.
Yeah. And on top of that, can we share some information or remind actually our partners about the any trials or free editions? Slav, I think this is yours as well.
Yeah, this one, I would like to split this question in two ways. First of all, we can show you, of course, with Svetlin how it looks like the free trial. But yes, we have free trials. It doesn't matter if you're going with Classic or if you're going with Cloud. All the time, we're giving this possibility to the end customer to test for 30 days. If you're a provider of those solutions, you're a partner of Interworks Cloud and Acronis, you can open those tenants for 30 days with full capabilities, full functionalities, and everything is included there. If the end customer decide to be moved in production or to sign a contract, easily you can switch this customer in production. So answering to your question, yes, and I do believe Svetlin, he can show you also in the platform how simple is actually, how it looks like accounts in production and accounts in trial mode.
Just go to acronis.com, and there is for service providers, for business, you can try it from there, or you can activate it if you join Interworks service provider tenant. If you have your service provider tenant there, then you can easily set up trial accounts for your customers from the service provider tenant management console.
And
Okay.
let me add something to that, the people that might considering becoming MSPs, please get in touch with the sales team of Interworks, and we can provide both trial and explanation in detail. Also, for anybody that want to test any of the feature, again, contact Interworks sales team and we'll give you a trial account just for testing the service you want.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
I think that the next one that just came, and we have a hand raised as well. So I'm gonna share the one in the chat window. Are you going to introduce the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud for service providers in this presentation, or it's a subject of another discussion? And what are the products of Acronis that Interworks will provide to its partners? Stavros, this is maybe partially it's yours.
Yeah, through the MSP program, you get all the products of Acronis, and also the on-premise product you can get now from Interworks. In the inside quotes existing partners of Interworks, we're offering the backup, the vulnerability assessment, some of them. The rest will come by the end of the year, next year. But anybody that has some questions about product offering of Acronis, again, please get in touch with your account manager or in general with the sales team, and we'll be happy to explain more.
Great. And there is a partner there who has a question. So just unmute yourself since your microphone is unmuted by our side. Can you hear us? Just unmute yourself. No, as far as I can see, he maybe cannot unmute himself. So I
Maybe
would
he can
suggest.
write the question.
Yes, I would suggest that. Use the question tab to pose your question. No, as far as I can see, he's still muted, self-muted. So let's, okay, hi. Seems that something is coming.
Few words on my side. We are all the time ready to assist additionally with presentation, live demo, technical assistance. In the face of Interworks Cloud, I'm proud that they're absolutely dedicated to Acronis. They have all the knowledge, even customer support will be taken from their side. So you can rely on 100% certified, trained Acronis distributor for both lines, Classic and Cloud. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact them or ourselves. We're ready to help and assist at any time.
Of course, exactly. Both Acronis and the Interworks teams are ready to, to support any of our partners' needs in different aspects. Apart from sales and more commercial aspects, and how to get acquainted with the Acronis platform. We can help them go the extra mile regarding marketing activities and so on. So the next question is, what about certifications? Do we need to be fully certified for Acronis security products?
Shall I answer it, Slav?
Take it. I know that you know the answer.
In order to start just reselling the features, you don't necessarily need to become first to be certified and then start selling. With the support of Interworks and of course Acronis in the background, you can start selling day one, as we have done also in all other the offerings we have as Interworks. If you want to become MSP, again, you can become MSP and then you will follow the training path for sales and technical in order to become experts in the service you are offering and to get some more benefits that are available to the Acronis MSP partners. And of course, anybody that's reselling Acronis can participate in the Acronis training part and get certifications in order, first of all, to enhance the knowledge by official training, and in the future can advertise the fact that he is a certified engineer or a certified company with sales and technical people in order to give a better service.
Great, thank you, Stavros.
Okay.
So, since we're running out of time, I think that it's a time for me to thank you once again for being here with us today. Many thanks to our audience and to you, Acronis team, and of course to my colleague Stavros. Thank you all for being here with us. I remind you that you will receive the recording within 48 hours after the end of the session. So have a great evening. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.